Okay, a very good morning here on Intention Monday. My name is Rishi Patel. I'm the founder of Selling in Alignment, where I help consultants to reprice and package their services so they can discover and live their purpose. And we're just going to have a quick look at the audio setup here. Everything is good. We're live, and let's quickly take a look at our stream. Okay, so what are we talking about today? Timeless Principles number 6. We are talking specifically about harnessing wisdom for success in business. And what kind of wisdom specifically? We're talking about knowledge, we're talking about deep understanding. And what's the difference between really just understanding something and really having a deep knowledge of it is the question that I'm posing today. Hey, let's go for this. So we're going to talk about a couple of key aspects inside of Timeless Principles. So first of all, I have here the value of deep understanding over just pointless execution. And really, this is a very powerful message, and it really applies to me as well, because I can very easily get caught up inside of the day-to-day running of the business, as opposed to taking a couple of steps back and looking at the bigger picture. And that's a really big one for me. And so I have a great team around me that really help me to keep me on track and on check. And we have regular monthly check-ins to make sure we're actually looking and working on the business as opposed to just in it. So I know that I need that for myself, and it's a great way to take a step back. Then we're looking at the power of knowledge as a guiding force. And I really here want to understand and distinguish the qualities of a good consultant or mentor. And then we have legacy of wisdom in business practice. So now there's something here about passing down of knowledge. You know, in ancient times, knowledge was never contained inside of books or anything like that. It was just passed down from one person to another. And there's really something that we could take away from that. So let's take a look at all of these topics. So I want to start off by looking at just having a deep knowledge of the business over just mere execution and why we're doing what we're doing. How often do you really take a step back and ask that question? I know for me, for sure, that I'm not very good at that. And so I have a team around me that I work with that really help to keep me in check around, hey, why am I doing what I'm doing? Like, where is this heading? Like, what's the eventual goal that I see for the business? Like, how is this going to scale and impact and reach more and more people? So it's always good to just take a couple of steps back. Now, the only way that we can do that is by, first of all, pulling ourselves out of the business and not just merely working on the day-to-day tasks. It's really about taking that step back and understanding, most importantly, that the business is a separate entity to the coach, consultant, mentor that's running it. It's a separate entity. You can think of it like a baby. And this topic inside of Timeless Principles, harnessing wisdom for success in business, this topic specifically about the business being a different entity to the coach, consultant, mentor, has come up for me through coaching, through working with clients, through looking at posts that I'm putting out on various social media platforms and seeing the feedback coming back that people think that they and the business are the same thing. They think their values and the business values are exactly the same. And I'm here to really put across that that may not necessarily be true. And you really do need to visit that. It's really powerful because we have a responsibility to the business in order to keep it running, to keep it growing, to have it pay its overheads, to have it pay its biggest expenses, which generally tend to be staff. And most likely the biggest expense in the business should most likely be your salary. As the person who is the driving force of the business needs to take care of you for operating it. So then the business pays you a salary. Now, whether you're operating as a limited company or as a sole trader, these things are all the same, right? In the sense that the business and yourself as a coach, consultant, mentor are two separate entities. These are two individual entities. I really want to communicate that. I know I've said that several times, and I really want to drive that home. don't consider you and the business to be exactly the same entity. It has a set of needs, fulfillments, it has a set of requirements, it has a set of expenses. For example, you may have expenses where you go to the supermarket and do the grocery shopping. Now, the business doesn't do grocery shopping. So we have to understand that there are two separate entities. One entity does grocery shopping because it needs to be nourished and it needs to eat for fuel in order to live and thrive. Another entity has expenses in terms of maybe office or business rates or staff costs or accounting or marketing, right? Or any other expenses that are linked to this, PR perhaps. And so the individual doesn't have these expenses, the business does. And so we have to understand that distinction. A lot of the times I'm seeing it more and more across various social media platforms that I'm a part of. Coaches, consultants, mentors, they seem to think that they and the business are operating as one entity. It's absolutely not the case. And so this is what I mean by going deep. And so then when we understand that, we can understand that knowledge really, the knowledge of that, having that knowledge, first of all, is one thing, but then really understanding that and going deep into that and using that as a guiding force completely changes the landscape of how we operate. Why is that? Because now when we set our prices, we're now considering that, hey, the business is a separate entity to me. And that's the way in which we set prices. So I help coaches and consultants to reprice and package their services. And one of the first things we do is we increase prices. Why do we increase prices? Because we want to make more money? No, that's not the forefront reason. The forefront reason for increasing our prices is because we have to understand that the business is a separate entity and it needs the fuel. Just as you go grocery shopping for food, or someone goes grocery shopping for you for food, for you to be fueled, for you to live, for you to thrive, the business also has a set of expenses which need to be paid in order for it to be fueled, in order for it to live, in order for it to thrive. So this is something that I really wanted to get across today. It's so key. And then there is this whole idea of really understanding that, first of all, someone that can even talk to you in these terms has to have an experience in this. I don't see a lot of people talking about pricing from this perspective. And the reason that I'm able to do this is because I ran my own coaching business. I started a coaching business, I grew it, I scaled it beyond multiple six figures, and I exited it. And so I still own the shares inside of my coaching business today. And so I no longer work in it day to day anymore. And that's very powerful. And the reason that that's very powerful is because it means I've experienced an entire business life cycle. So my question to you is, the mentors, the consultants that you're working with, do they have that kind of an experience? And it is important. It's also the way in which you can distinguish who has on the ground real life experience and who is doing this from a theoretical, ethereal perspective, right? And this is very important to understand, because you want to work with people who have the real life experience. And so when we understand all of this, then we can make the right choices in terms of the people to work with. May not necessarily be me, but these are the due diligence type questions that you can ask for someone that you're working with. The definition of a mentor is someone who's been there, done it, got the on the ground experience and lived through that experience and had operated a business from these facets and then come out on the other end. That's a mentor. And the most powerful combination of person you can work with is a coach, consultant, mentor, someone who's able to coach, who has the ability to do that, someone who's able to do the consulting work, i.e. give the end-to-end solution, and a mentor that's really using, which is the foundation of these two things as far as I'm concerned, because they're operating them from a base of experience. Really, really powerful. And I really recommend that you do due diligence when you're working with people. And a lot of the time why people don't get results is because they're not working with people who have gotten results. So this is a really important aspect to understand. Then I want to look at really the kind of eternal aspects of the business, if you like. I want you to think in terms of, right, okay, these are the problems that keep coming up in the market. Is my communications addressing these things, right? Am I actually putting out material that has a long-term traction to it, or is it just I'm operating from a short-term selling perspective? All of these things are important to consider when we're really applying knowledge instead of just short-term tactics. These things, when we combine them all together, we create something that's really solid. And so selling in alignment has a very clear content plan, for example. We know exactly what material we're putting out for the whole year, and we continue to put that out consistently. These are the things we want to take into this week. Let me know what you're getting from this. Hashtag replay if you're watching on replay. Let me know what you're getting from this. And until the next time, keep selling in alignment.